Good evening, everybody. This is Z with Plejaren Diaries again, and this episode, this is a series that I'm doing that kind of explains the highlights of the things that I've realized or discovered in my life with my other family, the Plejarens. And so uh, tonight I want to talk about I don't even know what you would call it. It's beyond the mind, right? And me and Sam Jess had this experience, and it took us a while to kind of figure things out. Um, I guess I'll go with the first part. There's so many parts to all of this. That's why I've written so many books so fast. 5 books in 10 months, I guess. I don't know if I'll do another one to have 6 for 1 year, but anyway, if you know or don't know what a quantum entanglement is, you should check it out. Me and Sam Jess had been having these experiences that we do where we just take off, right? And we discovered about the illusion of time and how all that works. And essentially, we had to die in order to get to this certain place, right? And in doing so, we're so much alike. We were kind of baffled how this is all happening, how each of these things is taking place, and so what I'm trying to say is that Mother suggested that we check out and see when Sam Jess was born in Earth time and in my time zone, just for curiosity. We didn't really know what it meant, and so we had Hans and Franz. They ran the calculations and everything. It comes out that we were born on the exact day, exact time, just different years. And so that added to the puzzlement that we were having about how much alike we are. And so when we did this dying and went beyond the mind, when you go beyond the mind, it's really hard to start to explain things because thought is instantaneous. And of course, we were having the experience of thinking alike everything. And so the next step was we discovered we were a quantum entanglement, where her plane of existence and my plane of existence crossed and merged, became one. And to explain this, it goes into about life, past lives, time, all these things that are mysteries, and there's already been explanations, but a lot of times I kind of wonder if they knew what they were talking about or if they just had a clue of what they were talking about, because they're right, but I don't know if they knew what that right meant. And I think I found that a lot during my life in the temples and being faced life and death and all these different things. There's a pattern to how you resonate with some things and you don't with others. That's why I've always been a proponent of there are no masters other than yourself. But everybody, if you listen to certain people, there'll be things that resonate with you and some that don't. Such as the Dalai Lama or whoever or your preacher or something. So you collect those things that resonate with you and hold on to them. Let the rest go, because you're not going to need them. So what I'm trying to get at is we're energy, right? And our like, if you believe in heaven, if you believe in the Buddha world, nirvana and things like this, or any of that, it's all absolutely true. And to explain this, and also past lives, and well, that's pretty obvious by now if you're with it, right? That we have past lives. It's just the definition that probably is somewhat different than what you've expected. And when me and Sam Jess left our body and we died, and we was traveling, that's what we call it, traveling. And so we were traveling and we found source. Okay, it's not as though it's a question, it's a knowing. And so here we are at source, and each of us is a fragment. And so, like, we're at this point of beyond words, and everything is instantaneous. And so a lot of things just doesn't apply in our language. But try to stick with me here. Time's an illusion. life is an illusion. We never leave source, whatever it is to you. So the best way to explain it is that we're energy beings. We always just continue. We never end, right? So source is like our consciousness, okay? And there are fragments of that consciousness that make up the whole. And when, like, as we think, come to earth, we're a soul. Okay, so now pause right there. And now just picture this. Consciousness is this big dude, right? And he's sitting on this platform in the middle of the void or space or whatever you want to call it, which is source. Okay, so it's our heaven or whatever it may be, right? And it's made up of fragments, correct? So he's got this like lazy boy, and he's sitting back on this lazy boy on this platform, which is source, right? Consciousness, right? Source. And so in front of him is all these TVs, right? And on those TVs are different series starring fragments of the consciousness or ourselves, right? As through a life. And so each of these series plays out. And then when we think we die, the projection ends because they're all just projections from source of a fragment within that consciousness. So, for instance, like me and Sam Jess had her TV series, I had my TV series, and we were fragments that came from the same source. Well, when our planes of existence merged and we met each other, that meant that her TV series went off the air, my TV series went off the air, and a new TV series was born with starring Sam Jess and me, right? And so we are a projection. And so that's why we found all these similarities in how we discovered the quantum entanglement. If you listen to the big brains that talk about this theory of quantum entanglement, and how, you know, one atom here or one atom, no matter how far away, you know, there's an incident that they're the same, okay? They don't know. They have a good idea, but once you're an experiencer, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. So anyways, that's the way we see our past lives, our current life, and so on and so forth. But we never leave here because we've never been here, wherever that is. We've never left source. We are only a fragment or a soul, a projection, you know, onto into what we define as a life. So anyways, that was that one. And now it's something a little bit more fun. I'm an astronaut, by the way. I love saying that. It happened through circumstance. They have these pods. They have several different ships. I mean, just about anything you can imagine, right? But the pods intrigued me because, you know, we see them on TV and things like that. And essentially, when you get close up, they're like a big casket. It's the best way to describe it. And they're smooth and they're seamless and that sort of thing. And I happen to be get lucky, and I won a bet. And so that bet, I played pool with the commander and beat him. And what I wanted out of the deal was to go for a ride in one of the pods. And so he was able to make this happen. And so here we go, right? And the first thing that had to happen was I had to put on one of their jumpsuits, which I was not looking forward to. You know, when I met Sam Jess, when I picked her up and I felt her jumpsuit, it felt like skin. You know, it was really hard to describe, but that's exactly how it felt. And so, you know, the captain takes me over to, I guess, the place where they hold them, right? And they're about this big, right? You know, it's not that big. And it's like for a doll or something. I mean, they were so tiny, and it's like, how does this work, right? And I'm thinking it's going to stretch and everything as I put it on. But what happened was, you know, the shoes are included, and I'm I'm stepping into it, and as I'm pulling it up, it's not stretching, it's growing, it's fitting me. And so, with the kind of dad body and everything, it's like, and I'm looking around, all these people are absolutely perfect in their bodies, and it's like, yeah, this is going to look great. But anyway, so I'll go with it. But it actually felt like a skin. Seemed almost be alive. It controls so many different things. It monitors, your essentials, and it also keeps you cool and that sort of thing. Keeps your body temperature right and all these different things, right? And so it takes care of you. Plus, it's extremely durable. It would stretch and everything else. But and it felt like you weren't wearing anything, essentially. And so anyway, and then we had like a helmet. And this isn't necessarily necessary, but for certain reasons, I was expected to wear this. And I think I know why later. But anyways, the helmet is like you don't have anything on at all. It's very form-fitting and such, and it also regulates, right? And you can breathe in different atmospheres, that sort of thing. So then I'm keeping it kind of short here because there's a lot of details. But anyway, so when it's like, okay, now how do we get in, sort of thing, and like Sam just touches it and it opens, right? And then there's seats in there. There's 2 seats, front and back. And we get in, there's like no instruments, no console, no nothing, and no seat belts. And you sit down and it just sort of wraps you. Some of them have seat belts. I'm not quite sure why, but because once you're in there, you're very secure. And, I'm watching Sam just do this sort of thing, and there's nothing there. And it's like, I don't get it. And so Zoom, we're off, right? And it was incredible. I mean, how fast that we would go. And you don't feel anything, which was actually disappointing. And they don't turn. And I found this out later, how that works. They do turn, but they do like 90-degree angles and that sort of thing. And so this one time when I'm out in it on my own, what they had done is created like a light console. And it was like, I don't know, neon lights, right? And they looked like instruments, not like gauges or anything, but they had like a joystick, like from a gaming machine or something. And what it did was, as they would give me instruction what to do and all, like if I wanted to go forward, I'd move the joystick forward, back and forth. It's not there. But by putting my hand around it, it moves with my hand. And so it controlled the direction. The other thing was, it's like when you want to jump, for instance, well, primarily that's all they do is they jump from one place to another. You don't just drive, right? Unless you want to. And so, God, there's so many things here I can tell you about. Like, say I'm around the moon and I want to go to Mars. And so in myself, I say jump. I can either verbalize it or think it. And then I hit this button that's on my imaginary console that lights up, right? And so, boom, I'm right there. And then, if I say in proximity, like I don't have to verbalize that. I just say, jump to Mars, and I go in within the proximity of Mars. So if I want to go exact coordinates, right, and know what those are, it will take me exactly there. But I was asking Hans about that, and like, because he always did the proximity thing, and he said, think of it this way. He goes, you can go exactly where you want to go, or you could fly it in, right? And why not fly it in? I mean, it's cool, right? And so that's the reasons for that. Now, in reference to the jumping, you can come up with a lot of ideas why that might be a bad idea, right? In the last video, I spoke a bit about frequency, how it's kind of your passport through the universe, right? Because you're unique. Every single one of us is unique in the frequency that we emit. And even when it evolves or changes, which it does from the time you're born till, you are present, right? But it evolves, and it's a known evolution, so to speak. Okay, so anyway, you think about AI and what all the talk is right now about all these different things that are AI, and oh, how scary and stuff like that, and then, or how great it is, right? But there doesn't seem to be an in between. Well, this isn't AI. It's what I've named it PI, personal intelligence, right? Um, in that respect, it's like that frequency is transferred to the intelligence of the spaceship or pod like I was in. And in the process, what it does is it is basically a living being that has limited functions, but those functions, I guess you could say, is very intelligent because it can like think for you ahead of you. So, and it also can see ahead. I guess you would call it future, but it's not because time's illusion. But so see, like that's what I'm saying is that it's beyond words. A lot of this is, and so okay, I want to jump, but there's something in proximity of where I'm going to jump that could be dangerous, like a meteorite or whatever, right? Something is going to be there when I get there, which is basically instantaneously. And so the PI can know this, will know this, and it will take corrections to keep me safe. And it knows how I would react. It knows what I would do to react to a certain situation. And it knows all this beforehand. So it is my personal intelligence, so to speak. And like I say, it's sort of like a plasma, which is important, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I don't know another word for it. I call it a plasma. It's like an invisible shield around the ship that is the intelligence that's working within based on your frequency. So, it prevents you from making mistakes. If you're following somebody, for instance, like I had the opportunity to do where 3 of us were flying, and I asked Hans, what if I run into you or something? Not possible, because that personal intelligence will take care of that. Another little clip about that is, 2 things. When I was out on my own, I think it was the captain told me, find, a point, find something to understand where you're at. Like, for instance, like I can see the moon, right? So I see the moon, right? And I'm in it. Okay, I'm going to move forward really fast. So I move it forward. Poof, I'm moving, right? And then he says, take a turn. I don't feel anything, right? I don't know that I'm moving, right, at this moment. And he's rattling off these instructions. And so, boom, I turn, right? Okay. I don't feel it. And I don't know that I'm moving. I don't know that I've turned or anything. And then he says, turn again. And boom, I do that. And then I come to a stop. And he goes, where are you? And I had no clue. I didn't see the moon anywhere. And I forgot to keep my eye on it and pay attention to where that was. Because you're going so fast and you do these 90-degree turns and such, but you don't feel the movement. So it messes with your mind in a sense. So you have to be conscious of that if you're going to be moving in that way, right? One of the other things that I got to experience was this one time when we were out there, me, Sam Jess, and Hans, and or me and Sam Jess, I forget how it was, but anyways, I asked if we could go out, leave the pod, and they agreed. And so I had to follow, like everything that I did in there. Hans would give me instructions, exact instructions, and I'd follow exactly what he had to say. I didn't try to make anything up or anything like that, because it's kind of new, right? So anyway, he gave me instructions. I lifted the hatch, and the hatch is kind of a cool thing. It's seamless, but when you touch on it, it opens up. So you have this hatch, and you climb down in the hatch, and it's all solid color, right? Kind of a white-looking metallic color. And when that closes, you can see out through that hatch because it's like there's a window there. But from the outside, you can't see in. And there's no seam when it closes. It's like one unit, one solid unit. Don't understand that, but that's the way it is. So anyways, when I asked to get out, they opened it up, or I opened up the hatch, and then did as instructed to climb out. And when I was out, we made our way over to the major ship. And, it was like if I moved forward, then I would fly forward a little bit, a little inertia, but it was very slow. And if I wanted to stop, I would just, do what I would do to stop. And it stopped. It was very controlled, but there wasn't any apparatus that I was aware of. So I think that's part of what I was talking about, is the suit is also alive in a way. I think it's more AI than what the ship is, but maybe not. I don't know. Or maybe they connect, right? So we get to the ship, and then, I'm expecting when my feet touch the ship, I was thinking like magnetic or something, but it wasn't. When I got onto the ship, it was as though I was not in space. It was as though I was on the ground and I just stepped onto something. And then when I walked, it was normal. It was just like anything else. And that is all to do with the way the suit works. And so the same thing going back and getting in and stuff. And so anyways, that's kind of that experience. Now, we've been in other ones also. We've had the opportunity to, there's this race that I call the Vulcans because, I'm allergic to language, with English being my second language, and I don't have a first language. So I make names for myself, right? Like Hans and Franz, okay? Because they're not like the Hans and Franz that you may imagine, but it cracks me up. They kind of look like it, and they do have certain similarities, right? So these Vulcan people, that race was also evolved or so by the Plejarens, and they're like 2,000 years advanced to us, where the Plejarens are like 5,000 years advanced to us. And so their ships are not quite as advanced. When I got in one of those, and I actually got to fly one, it was a lot more fun. I mean, yeah, they're fast and all that stuff, and they have all these capabilities, but they actually had an instrument panel, right? With like a similar to like a joystick and everything. And so it was kind of cool. And then also bank turning, it would do the L turns and stuff, but you could bank it and you could feel a little, not a lot like you would anticipate, or expect, but you could actually feel movement at times. And so that was kind of fun. There's also ships that went to the Plejaren planet, which is another whole topic, which is really similar to ours, but they have these, what I call the motorcycles, right? Which are kind of like the share ride sort of thing, but there's no monetary system. So if you get to a place where there's a row of them or something, you can take them, right, and go where you need to go. And it automatically refills. Either these motorcycles go back or there's enough there or whatever. So you get the idea. It's never empty. And each of these locations. And then which they didn't have wheels or anything. It was just amazing. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But they have these ships where you can actually go and leave, just like kind of like a spaceship sort of thing. It's a flying contraption that you actually can go into space, but primarily what they're used for, just like the motorcycles, they're free use, and you could travel because the Plejaren planet is kind of like a great big Philippines in a way. It's a bunch of islands, and so you could fly to another island, do what you need to do there or want to do, and then go back and get another one and fly it back, right? Or wherever you want to go, leave it there and stay, or for whatever. Plus, they're automated too, so that there's always enough in each location that they've designated. But one day, this was really, really cool. Me and Sam Jess are like, we want to do something, right? And so we go to the captain, and we just show up, and it's like, hey, captain, sort of thing. And it's like, what do you guys want? And it's like, you got something for us to do? And so he's like, I think so. And so he takes us down into, I keep calling it the bay. There's another word for it where you keep all the ships and stuff. And I hadn't seen this one before, but he takes us back behind, and there's several other places, and there's this large sphere, right? And there was plenty of room for like three of us, and so it was really odd looking shape, and it looked old or something, but I knew it was not one of the modern versions, but it was uh, one that wasn't necessarily new either. And the whole outside had these little shapes about like they had, you know, or if it was a triangle, it was about this big, or polygon, or whatever it may have been. These different geometric shapes that covered the entire, in uniform, covered the entire skin of whatever it was. I call them tiles, right? That covered the skin of this sphere. And when he put his hand on it, like, it opens up. Inside was perfectly smooth and lit. I don't know where the light was coming from or anything, but it was open. And there was three chairs that happened to be there, all facing each other. And again, it was real similar to like in the pod where you sit down and it just sort of squeezes into you and holds you, right? And I don't really know why, because when we started to move, at least I thought we were moving, I didn't know for sure. Nothing was happening. And like the captain explained to me, the outside is spinning, but inside we're not, and we're stable. And you really couldn't feel the movement. And so once I felt time had passed that we were outside of the ship, I asked the captain, so, how do I see? Where's the windows? Is there any windows? Because if not, it's going to be really boring for me. And so what he said was, look anywhere you want and you can see outside. And it was weird because after he told me that, I look outside, I can see, right? Anywhere I look, it was like this large area where it would travel with my eyes. But before that, I wanted to look outside and nothing was happening. So I don't know what happened there. But anyway, I was able to see. And then he would go really fast. And it was almost like you see like on these space shows and stuff where things are streaking. Or he could go even faster where you couldn't see anything. There was just light emanating around, the ship. And then I was asking him about all these shapes, geometric shapes that were on the outside. And so he kind of showed me how that works. Basically, physics in space, which I think the scientists are now just starting to understand, is different than here on Earth. And so it has to be applied. And, like on Earth, we have sacred geometry, which is a series of different geometric shapes that make up the entire Earth, correct? And so these shapes would change according to the density that we were in. And the soup, I guess, is what you would say, right? So if we're moving from one place to another that's different, has a different density, then the ship automatically knows to change. Same goes for when you see like these UFO pics where they fly into the ice and into the water, or just into the water. That's when it changes, as it senses that change of frequency or soup, then it auto-corrects. It adapts to that instantaneously so that you can travel through different mediums, even Earth, even, through a mountain, through a sand pile, whatever. So it always is able to adapt to those sort of things. So anyways, that was really cool and helped me understand a lot about, their travel and how that works. What else did I want to go over? Okay, we got the spaceships. We got going beyond the mind. I think going to wrap that one up for this one so we can keep moving on into the other ones. I still got to talk to you about the colonies and some of the experiences that I've had, both the Plejaren and the others, and like the homes. I want to tell you about how the homes are, what they live in, and how that life works. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. Bye.